Sean, last week I know there was talk of or the possibility of Seamus having an operation. What's the latest as regards him? Because obviously with him being out of contract in the summer as well, there are those who will fear that he might have played his last game for the club. Can you give any hint as to whether that's
he did have an operation. It's straightforward in the view of the medical side of things. I don't know the official way they've treated it in the sense of the operation, but apparently it's gone really well when they got in there as they expected, so hopefully it'll be a straightforward recovery, and all being well, should be fit for next season.
Is that a hint that he...
No, I'll be speaking to him ongoing. I've spoke to all the players here, varying, the ones that needed a chat about things, so he's well in the loop of where he sits at this football club.
How difficult has it been being patient on the injury front with the likes of Dominic CalvertLewin, the likes even of Yerry Mina as well? And do you think you're in a position where you're going to get rewarded for that patience now?
Well, we'll see. Patience, bearing in mind that it's not patience in the sense of just being holding back for the sake of it. Patient in the sense of the risk and reward scenarios that come in football, and it's difficult sometimes. You're very tempted as a manager to push players back in through, maybe too early. In my experience, it doesn't very often pay you back. So we were trying to get players, more so with Dom because of his history, or recent history, I should say. More get him to a point when he's almost as close to being fully match fit as you possibly can before you drop him back into full training. Whereas often you'd use full training to get the final bit of fitness. But I think because of his history, I felt that it needed properly solving. We were unfortunate the first time round because he was just at the cusp of being fully fit and he nicked his hamstring again. So then you have to be extra careful. So that was the challenge. But still use the same process. And I think we've seen from his performances, he does look very fit and strong. So that's going to be important over the coming games, of course. But it's a real risk and reward of it, especially more so with muscle injuries. Sorry, that's always a trickier scenario, I think. And Yerry's been fit since he's been here. It's just keeping proper fitness. I thought he did well the other night, fitness-wise. Not easy because obviously the games programme at the minute is very skinny. We've managed to get a couple of games in between the time I've been here, but not many. He did well with that side of things, and then obviously given a bit of downtime just to recover.
What's been the difference managing emotions this week? Obviously a high after the win over Brighton in contrast to the week, I suppose, after Newcastle, and the fact that the Brighton game built on the impressive performance against Leicester, but you can't get too carried away, obviously.
No, I think more reinforcing the good pitch behaviour, if you like, in the sense of the tactical demand, the physical demand, gluing it all together with that sort of mentality to take on a performance and reflecting on it and sharing it with them, showing some clips and things that we did well, things that we can still work on. And then on the emotional side, really, the challenge you've got, you want them to enjoy it. I want to enjoy it, of course I do, but the most enjoyable thing is getting the whole job done, particularly at this club this season. I just remind them of that. I said, I go back to when I got here, we beat Arsenal, and I said it's a step. It's an important step, but it's a step. Well, the win on Monday was another big step in the sense of the time of the season, where it's at. Very important, these games. So I thought it was a big step in gluing it all together. The mentality, the performance, the tactical understanding, and the will and demand of a group to play hard. So I want them to enjoy the moment because I think that's a great thing about football. But equally, you've got to be aware to come down very quickly because the next one's the most important one, and we've been trying to do that. They're against the top side, of course, as well in Man City.
I think you said you want the players to take it on this weekend. The fans will be backing you all the way, obviously, on that in St Goodison Park at the weekend. But in what way do you envisage being able to take it on against Manchester City?
Well, it's not ezy. It's not easy. They're a top side. They're performing fantastically well again this season in a number of different avenues, competitions. But they have a busy games programme as well. I know they've got very, very good players, a squad full of them. He might change things, rotate things. We can't look at everything they do. We have to still focus on what we do. I think we've done a lot of work on that with the group since we've been here. Some good signs, some maybe not. But there's been an adjustment, I think, in the mentality particularly. So I think that's important, to remind ourselves of the good players that we've got, remind ourselves of the good group that we've got, and the current feel about the group has been a high demand. After getting a bit lower, we've come back up again, with our performance levels now. Like I say, they're a very good side, but you've got to find a way of competing. And if you do that properly and you play well, then you've got a chance to win.
What confidence do you have that you've got a forward line in the kind of form that can ask questions of them, the way that Dwight McNeil, Dominic, Alex Iwobi are showing off?
Well, I think the legs, the pace, the directness, the quality is a good mixture, obviously. They have a bit themselves, we know that. But no, it's something that's grown as I've got here, and with fitness as well, particularly with Dom. But no, we like the way that they're operating. We like the pace of the attack that we're managing to get, particularly in the last couple of Leicester and down at Brighton. But mainly for me, it's been the quality. There's been some real good quality, and behind that, you need a defensive framework that can give you the base to work from. So we're, the rules stay the same against whoever you're playing. It's just that you've got to get all the details right against the top sides, particularly because Man City they work on, if you don't get the details right, they work on you. We've got to make sure we're on top of every detail.
Does past history come into thinking at any point as well, even if it means you're looking to change things late in the game? I'm just thinking of the equaliser that Damari Gray scored at the Etihad earlier this season.
Well, there's a funny thing, I think, there was a noise recently about me not making subs. Pep's only made less than me. He's made 2, I think, on average, or something like that. So, been pretty good company, I think. Pep's doing, I'll take that.
But as I say, does a player's past history against the side ever come into the thinking and their potential for goal?
No, not really with that respect. You have to, my view is of the game. You can't guarantee from the past what comes next. I think the game, what the game offers, what you're looking at, how the team are performing, how they're reacting to what's going on in the game, I think that's important to me. And when I like what I see, I tend to not tinker too much. Unless it's an obvious thing, an injury or someone lacking fitness and stuff like that. But if the team are operating in the right manner, which at Leicester I thought we were dominant in the second period of the second half, if you like. So therefore I'm like, no, that team can go on and win it. We didn't on the day, but I believed it could. Brighton different. Obviously, we were the scoreline said we could make them changes, but still only made a couple. I think that you try and observe what's going on in the game, speak with your staff, albeit quite difficult while the game's going on, but still, what do you think? Constantly sharing thoughts and then make a decision.
Obviously, Erling Haaland's been named Football Writers Footballer of the Year as well. I just wondered, it's the first time, obviously, you've managed to side again, a City side with him in it. What difference has he made to your thinking as to how to set up against the ones you've had in the past?
I think he's just given them another different way of attacking, hasn't he? I think we all know that with his physicality, the pace and power he brings to it, so that we know that Man City have got lots of good players, by the way, and it just gives them another way of operating rather than, if they do need to hit a longer ball from back to front or from the keeper, which they've done a few times, they can do. I just think it gives them a different way of operating. No, but he's a super high quality player, you know that. But yeah, again, the details have got to be right as individuals and a collective and the shape and all the things that make it difficult for these players, to perform. But it's not. I'm pretty sure Pep knows it's not just about him. There's a very, very strong outfit there across the board, subs, bench, everything. It's a very strong outfit.
And on that, Jamie Carragher said in his column today that given the timing between two emotionally and physically demanding European games and the context in terms of how fired up the opponent will be, the trip to Everton could be the toughest remaining game in City's quest. How do you see it? I mean, is there a chance that doubleheader against Real Madrid can impact on them negatively?
Well, first, I hope he's right. That'd be good. No, look, I mean, excuse me, these teams, these clubs, particularly Man City over the last few years, they're used to these big games, you know what I mean, and used to dealing with what they have to do. So we can't rely on that. If it plays its part, then it might well do, but we can't rely on that. We have to go in with everything right. I always say, against these top teams, in my experience, you have to have everything right. You might need them to have a softer day. You might need decisions. You might need, you defend well. You take your chances. All them things have to come into play. So, no, we certainly can't overthink whether they've got big games around them or not. But they're pretty much used to that. So it's more about us staying focused on what we're going to do.
Thanks, Sean.
Thank you.
Thanks, Vinny. We'll go to Stuart.
Hiya. Is this actually quite a hard one to prepare for? Because Pep does often change his lineup, changes formations. He might rotate, obviously, because of the Real Madrid side. So for you, is it actually quite hard because you're not really sure how they're going to line up?
Well, when you've got that many quality players and a manager who's won everything around, Europe in different ways, different teams, then of course you try and be aware. But he's tinkered less, I think, than when he first got here. His first season he changed a lot. I think the shape has stayed more similar over the last couple of seasons, but he's got the ability to do so with lots of different players and lots of different styles of players. So you've got to be ready, that's for sure. And we can only make the players as ready as possible. And then if they change it on the day, we have to adapt.
As you mentioned, they've got a lot of players in a big squad, but with Haaland, is his threat something that you've worked on specifically with your defenders this week?
No, I don't think you can work on just one thing, because if you work on one thing against Man City, they've got other players who can hurt you. So I think it's a collective attitude, a collective organisation tactically, and and then performing. You know, I think if you get zoned in on one player, there's others there who are very, very good players and very effective players. So I think you've got to, I mean, let's have it right. The way he's had this season, you would like to think our players are aware. You'd like to think they've seen of him to imagine, you know, ways that they might play against him. You know, as a centre-half, you'd always know the person you're playing against or know of them. And now there's a lot more analysis, a lot more out there to do that. So you'd always have a feel. And then more about us getting the team, if you like, right to work around all the scenarios. Because, like I say, you can't focus on one player because some of these teams, particularly Man City, they're very effective from other areas, not just through that one player.
And as a centre-half, would you have fancied your chances against him?
I've got to tell you, I fancy my chance about any centre-forward. That's the one strength I had. I weren't that great, but I fancied my chance against every centre-forward I played against.
Thanks, Stuart. We'll go to Shamoon at BBC.
Hi, John. It was a great result on Monday against Brighton. How satisfying was the scenes at the end with the fans and the reaction that they had?
I prefer that reaction at the end of the season when we get the job done. But during the process, our fans have been amazing. I've said that. I've never questioned the fans. They've been amazing since I got here. Home and away, I always have an extra little bit of respect for away fans purely because it costs a lot of money. Travelling, you know, tickets, all the rest of it, you know, sorting your life out. So I always think that's an added respect level because it costs a lot of money for these people, a lot of effort to get places, especially places like Brighton because it's miles away. So they got a reward for a very good performance and we thank them for their backing.
Did you take time to think about the performance, how unexpected it was, or do you just think about the next one, Man City coming up?
It wasn't unexpected. I think we've shown signs, and I think certainly the group are working hard. I think the performance level is you're looking. I've said it constantly. Is consistency. That's what we're looking for. But it's through 90 odd minutes, and it's every game that comes round. And I think that's what we're always pushing the players to get: more and more consistency of performance.
And is facing Man City the ultimate test any team can have?
The ultimate test is Premier League football. You know, that you can't take anyone for granted in the Premier League. It's fair to say there's a handful of clubs that are you know, superpowers, if you like, as I used to call them, and I think they still are. I think Man City are certainly in that group across the globe, really. So yeah, it's an added incentive to take a scalp. You know, but really, it's not about that at the minute. It's about points on the board. That's what we're looking to get. You know, we beat Arsenal. I wasn't jumping from the rooftops screaming about that. I just said, look, it's a great win. It's a great 3 points, but it's 3 points. That's what we're searching for.
And I'm sure you're aware they're on for the treble this year. What have you made of their season? Do you think they can go on and achieve that?
They're doing what they do, you know, over many seasons, not just this one. They push in most competitions, you know. So I think it's something that we've seen before. Whether they can finish that off is yet to be seen. But they push on every level because they're a top outfit and they buy top players and they consistently grow.
Any way of stopping them? How does clubs?
You've got to play well, as I just said. You've got to play well. You need to be all the details. And maybe a scratch of luck, a decision here and there, but you've got to play well. Simple as that. You've got to perform.
And the Goodison factor on Sunday, do you think there's a sort of added percentage that's in your favour there?
Well, since I've been here, the fans across the board have been very supportive, and they have been at home. So that's all we can ask them is to stay behind the team, regardless. Just keep behind the team.
And can you imagine the scenes if there is a positive conclusion to this season?
I can.
How will you be feeling?
I'll just be feeling that we've got the job done, I can assure you.
Thanks, Shamoon. We'll go to James at Ready on Merseyside.
Hi, Sean. What sort of statement do you think Monday night sent out as a whole to yourselves and also to the other teams around the bottom?
I don't think it's about statements. I think it's more about what we're looking to do for ourselves, you know, and that is be a high-performing outfit and that consistency I've been looking for. I think putting back-to-back top performances, I thought we were very good at Leicester, I thought we were very good at Brighton. Excuse me. But we certainly weren't designing it as a statement. We're just merely saying we're alive. You know, look at what we're doing. We're competitive. We've got an edge to us. We want to take on the challenge. I think that was a message.
Yerry Mina was in at the back. Can you just talk through your thought process in putting Yerry and James together?
Yeah, Yerry's, I think, I'm right in saying, he's the only player that hasn't stepped on the pitch for us in real terms. So at some point, you know, I've got to look at that as well and go, right, okay, could he offer us something different than what we're doing? On the night, the team in front of him performed well, and I think I was a centre half. It's always helpful if the group in front of you are performing well. I think that's a helpful thing, and he did fine, you know, especially when he hasn't played in so long. So I was pleased for him and pleased for the team. But it's not really about each individual at this time, that's for sure. It's about the group mentality and the squad mentality. But it just goes shows another player who's ready to come in and commit to the cause.
And good to see Andros Townsend back on the grass for the under-21s early this week.
Yeah, and he's just started with us again. I mean, he's early on in the process of getting truly fit, but he started with us again. It's great for him because it's been a long haul. I spoke to him about his frustrations of it all, and it can get hard when you're a player. But he's back on the grass and he's enjoying it at the moment again, and we want that to continue.
Thanks, James. We'll go to Carl
Excuse
at
me.
the Press Association.
Let's get a swig of this. This throat needs some work.
Actually, just to go back to in relation to your first answer about Seamus and next season, have you been able to give any thought to the medium-term planning for what you want to do?
Yeah, I think there's some outlines that I've been speaking, excuse me, with Kev Thelwell about, and some background of the club and a way forward and thoughts forward. But at the end of the day, it still comes down to what's happening now, because we all know when I got here the noise about Everton are done and all that sort of business for this season. We've obviously shown we're not done. We've obviously shown there's more life in what we're doing. We've got to take that on to the end of the season. We know that. And that does change things quite obviously. Being in the Premier League is a different viewpoint. So that's the first concern. But there's some background chats about what's going to be needed, because you have to continue. You have to make sure that they're still in place.
Do you I know it's sort of sound fair, but do you have to have almost two lists or two plans in place for survival? And
No, not really. No, not really. It's a fluid business, fluid industry. One that I'm used to. So, I think you're always fluid thinking anyway. I don't think it's about an exact thought. It's about different scenarios with players, player contracts, ways the club are operating, ways they're looking to operate. So there's a lot going on. It's not just about this or that.
Ultimately, it's about survival.
Sorry?
Ultimately, it's about survival.
Well, ultimately this season it's about getting past this situation and then growing for the future.